What you are listening to is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in the squared circle. Both parties have agreed to dismiss their cases and have their disputes settled here in our forum, the Turnbuckle Debate.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Turnbuckle Debates. My name is Sneed.
I'm Chad.
And I am Tom, the OG Fig Kid, the staple of the Turnbuckle Debate.
Okay. And
always getting it in.
Always get it in. And
I've got to get it in.
I guess you do, man. We have a special guest with us today. We have Derek Stowers from Conquest Pro Wrestling. How's it going, Derek?
Hey, what's up, guys? How's everybody doing?
Man, we're doing good. We're glad to have you on. Definitely looking forward to this event coming up, man. Won't you tell us a little bit about what's going on with Conquest?
Sure. May 21st, Friday night. It's in Canal City, West Virginia, right on the outskirts of Charleston. We're doing the Conquest Stampede. So our most previous show, Crashing the Party, we did over 300 people there in Quantum. This looks to be even bigger. So come out. It's a party atmosphere. Venue sells beer. You know, everybody's throwing streamers. We've got some of the top indie names. We've got guys that have been on TV or on TV or on their way to TV. So it's, in my opinion, the highest level indie you'll find in hundreds of miles.
I definitely agree with that. We 100%. Went to the last show, and when we left that show, the first thing we said is, we have to be involved with this.
Yeah.
We have to get involved. This is the best indie show that we have seen in a very long time.
Oh, in the tri-state area, I just remember thinking, like, finally we have a legit independent promotion that kind of has their finger on the pulse of indie wrestling. I mean, you guys have people, like you spoke to, you have people on TV, obviously, like a lot of Impact guys like Ace Austin, Jake Something, but you guys have some of the biggest stars in independent wrestling right now, from Mance Warner, one called Manders, Levi Everett. There's a lot of like really fun independent wrestlers.
Main event. Yeah. So we're definitely looking forward to the event that's coming up, man. What we're going to do, we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the show too, but what we're going to do, we brought you on, we wanted to have you on to talk about Conquest, but we also want to get your opinions on some topics for a debate, and we're going to get into the debate. What we're going to do, we have 3 topics. We'll go normally about 10 to 12 minutes per topic, and just do a round table discussion and not really listen to Tom's opinion. So
the most important opinion.
Yeah. But yeah, we'll get right into it. If you guys are ready, we'll get into the first topic.
Let's do it.
All right. So our first topic of the evening is, does a company need to run house shows to be successful?
No. I think we've learned that in the last year. AEW has shined without house shows, just putting on weekly TV. WWE's house shows have went away. I wouldn't say they've shined, but I would think it's a healthier aspect for the wrestlers to not be out on the road as much as they were. I think your talent's going to stay fresher, and you know, it's going to lead to better things on TV and pay-per-views.
I think your point is, I agree that it definitely keeps the wrestlers more healthy, but at the same time, when we talk about, does it make a company successful? How successful? Because I think the lifeblood of pro wrestling is in live events, you know, and if these companies are successful because they're already established, but to grow new fans and to really see a groundswell, I feel like you have to have those live shows.
Yeah, and I agree with that too. I think the house show aspect, not only what you said, Chad, but I also think that this gives a lot of time for them to work things out. too. So you have a lot more time to go in. I mean, you can talk about things on paper all day, but if you go in and you're actually working things out in an arena 5 nights a week, 4 nights a week, whatever they're doing, I know they shorten their schedule, but I think that kind of gives them an advantage as to making a story better than just talking about it and doing it and not having that, I guess, practice run to see how it's going to go.
What do you think, Derek?
I think everybody's right so far. I don't think as far as a business model, I think the house show is sort of a hangover from an old business model where, you know, the TV was your infomercial to sell tickets to the local shows.
Right.
Now it feels like all of the money, at least for a national company, is in the television rights deals. So maybe that does give your guys more of a break, prevents injuries, things like that. But at the same time, just like you guys said, that is a great way for exposure as well. Gets people excited about, hey, we're going to see so-and-so in 3 weeks. Let's make sure and watch him on TV tonight. Or maybe we saw him last week. Let's watch him this week. You know, it does a great job at creating a connection with your fan base. But at the same time, just as far as dollars and cents, I don't think it's at all necessary anymore.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dollars and cents, I don't think it does make, no pun intended, make a bit of sense. So,
I think, yeah, and WWE had its most successful financial year probably because they weren't spending money to do these shows, these house shows.
yeah.
If you look at WWE, going back, back to the 80s and 90s, they were running house shows 7 days a week. The guys didn't get a break at all back then. But back then, there were no pay-per-views. So in order for the company to make money, they had to be running the house shows.
Well, the old NWA days, they were running 7 days a week, twice on Sunday, because they do a matinee in Charlotte, and then they go to Greensboro for that night.
Yeah, and back then, the guys were taking copious amounts of painkillers to get through that schedule.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was a different time.
That was back when you'd see the face-off on TV, and you'd want to watch them fight, and then you'd get the ad, catch them in the Greensboro Coliseum, catch them at the Charleston Civic Center. The TV was to drive the live events, and it's not at all that way anymore. Lots of times house shows, at least in Charleston that I've been to, feel like sort of a throwaway. I'm sure it's great to bring out the family. You know, it's a great night of fun, but it's lots of times just a throwaway show, seems like.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll tell you, the last house show that I went to in Charleston, I'm pretty sure you guys had more people at Conquest than what they had
Yeah.
in the stands. It was
those live shows in the couple years leading up to the pandemic were pretty scarce.
Oh, it was bad. Like I had texted somebody while I was there. I said, if I would scream right now, it would scare everybody here.
Oh, wow.
And it would have. I can send you guys pictures. I took a picture of it. It was pretty bad. But yeah, I think, that it's good for families. It's good to get them to watch it on TV. As far as dollars and cents, I don't think so, because I mean, with WWE, they're running the house shows when at Charleston, I know you could get a ticket for $15
right
to go in. I mean, and then
at one point that WWE was kind of raking in money off of those live shows, because I'm wanting to say at one point they had 2 or 3 different traveling live show groups. You had your SmackDown guys that were hitting cities at the same night that the Raw guys were hitting cities. I guess, do you think, now we had AEW just recently announced that not only are they've played around with house shows, they had a house show in Jacksonville a couple weeks ago, but they're getting back into the live game, the weekly live game, I should say, for Dynamite. Do you think we will see WWE go back to having live events? I think eventually, obviously, Raw and SmackDown will get to that point, but just, do you think WWE is going to distance themselves from live shows?
I think we're going to see them doing less and maybe more theme type of shows to draw people out. Kind of like they do, is it the Great American Bash they do every year?
Starrcade, I think.
Starrcade. They might start doing that, maybe like spaced out a little more and not running as much as they were. That way they sell out better. They have a better attendance. If it's not as often, you're not going to get to see the guys. If it's as easily as accessible, you're going to want to go out to an event if they're building it up in your area.
Yeah, but let's not talk about WWE Starrcade. That's blasphemy. That is not Starrcade.
I just use it as an example. I wasn't comparing it to the original Starrcade.
NWA, and it makes me hot what they did to Starrcade. Starrcade was the NWA's like flagship WrestleMania, and now it's a traveling house show. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's Vince for you. I wouldn't be surprised if he did that on purpose, just to kind of like, it's Vince. What his thoughts?
Yeah, what do you think, Derek? Because I think you have a pretty unique perspective where you are promoting an independent promotion. So independent wrestling is very much about the live experience. Do you think these major companies, now that they're seeing that they're not, the cost isn't there to put these live shows on, do you think that they will eventually have to get back in the game, or do you think it's something they're going to move away from?
Of course, none of us are there, so there's no way to be certain. All the news that you hear, it seems like that is an idea that they're toying with, is just leaving the live events alone. As far as live TV and live pay-per-views, of course, the audience is the biggest part of professional wrestling. It is the most important, bar none. Nothing even comes close. Even before the pandemic, I was tuning in and tuning out of Raw, and once the fans were gone, it was almost uncomfortable to watch. So the fans are a huge part of the experience. But I guess there's something to be said too for the guys getting out there every night and getting reps and getting their work in. A lot of the guys that we use are doing the same thing. Except they're true independent contractors. They're traveling. They're booked Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights.
Right.
So they're getting their reps in lots of the time. As far as those guys in the national companies, I'm not sure how they would get that without the house shows. But if it's only a bottom line thing, I'm not certain that the house shows are necessary at all for the national companies with these monster TV rights deals that they're bringing in.
Yeah, it's kind of sad too, honestly. Like, to me, like it does feel like we're in a massive change for pro wrestling when it comes to live shows. And I hope it doesn't change too much and we lose that. Like you said, I think the most important thing about pro wrestling is the fans being there. And if we go too much away from that, it's not going to be the same to me. The fans have been missed.
I don't think it's going to go away. I think we'll get fans for TV and they'll do TV, but I think that's going to drive fans to want to go check out local independent promotions as well.
That was going to be my next question for Derek. If the house shows don't come back, how do you think that might really give the indies a boost for people who want to go out and see wrestling?
Yeah.
Potentially. That's like when AEW came to Charleston, we partnered with a couple other promotions, ASW, Remix, and Pro Wrestling Inception out of Parkersburg. And we put on a free show because we knew there were lots of people traveling from other areas. And we thought if we could get their attention, we may be able to maintain them, get them to drive out to ours or follow our social medias, just to increase exposure, period.
Yeah.
So that's what a national company can do it's just a trickle down,
Right. Yeah, I know you guys ran that show over in Elk City, right?
Yes, sir.
Yep. Yeah, I remember.
We did several hundred people, and it was an absolute downpour. And it wasn't just a pass through; it rained the entire time, and it never stopped. And we still had several hundred people under umbrellas or just out there getting wet. So if we would have had good weather, who knows? What that could have done for us. And it still did a lot, though. No complaints at all.
That's awesome, and that just shows the pure rabid wrestling fan that doesn't.
Yep.
Nothing's going to stop him from going to watch some wrestling.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
All right. Anybody have anything else to say before we move on to our next topic?
I think we got it.
All right. Well, let's get on to the next topic of the evening, which is going to be, does AEW have a problem with satisfying finishes?
And now when you bring this up, obviously this is in response to the criticism of the death match, the exploding barbed wire death match, and the whimper of an explosion at the end of the night. It's in a response to all the fan backlash from
Blood and Guts.
So, Tom, you seem pretty hot about it.
I mean, okay, so we've talked about the end of the exploding barbed wire match. Okay, that was a mishap one time, and I wasn't happy with the ending to Blood and Guts at first until I came on and discussed it with you, and then I heard the Tully promo, and then their ending made sense, what they were trying to do with it. Like, no, that's not a problem, especially when you're given the ending of Blood and Guts was on TV for free. You didn't even pay for it.
Right.
So if you don't like the story that they're trying to tell and the point that they made, then that's on you. Like, you know, like I said, I didn't love it at first, but then I sat back and I listened, and then I listened to the Tully Blanchard promo. It made so much more sense. That's just my opinion. You can't judge by two things. It's the only two endings that people are complaining about. And I was like, did I have a problem have given satisfactory endings? No.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you. I think the two endings that all the fans were bitching about, the two that we mentioned, the first one was, you can't put that on the promotion. When that explosion didn't go off, that was a pyrotechnic problem. They had ran test explosions all that week. That worked. That happens live TV. It's if it's a dud, it's a dud. They have no control over that. Now, the Blood and Guts finale, I thought the booking of it was phenomenal, and everyone complained, maybe I can get behind, maybe they used the wrong camera angle. Maybe they showed too much of a close-up on Jericho hitting that crash pad or whatever you want to call what they had set up for him to fall on. But the overall booking, I thought, was a genius booking move with MJF standing tall. You pretty much solidified him as the most evil heel in pro wrestling right now. And for all the people that say they don't have satisfying endings, I think that's complete bullshit, because when you look at some of their endings in the past, they've had some of the most iconic finishes to matches. I mean, think about the match at the first Double or Nothing with Cody and Dustin. They're both covered in blood. You know, they have that moment where they hug, and they have some of the most, in their short history, they've done so well with booking just very, very strong finishes.
Yeah, and I don't think they have a problem with satisfying finishes either. I mean, because how many times do we get a DQ, or how many times do we get, you know, a triple threat match or something like that, where I just don't think that. I think they try more than anybody else to give us good finishes instead of just kind of the throwaway finish.
Right. Schmoz. They do not do schmoz finishes. They're very winner, loser. I think we've got maybe one DQ finish in the entirety of AEW.
Yeah. Now, one thing I am looking forward to hearing, I want to hear Derek's opinion on this, because I know he had said something about was it the Blood and Guts ending?
Yeah. As far as the exploding barbed wire match, that was so unfortunate. I felt bad for them. They took a huge risk. They had to know that there was a chance that could have happened, and the worst case scenario did happen.
Yeah,
right.
I just gritted my teeth, and I hated it for them. They got tons of blowback, and no negative feelings from me. I really felt for them. But man, this Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
What's your problem?
Yeah. Well, NXT does the War Games now, and they took the roof off so that they could do less blood, less brawling, more theatrics, more athletics, and they did good modernizing it. It's totally different from the War Games that we all grew up on, but it was fine. And AEW did a true throwback. I loved it. And even I get uncomfortable with so much blood in 2021, but not that night. I just thought it was great, man. It took me back to the 92 War Games and the old Wrestle Wars and the old Great American Bashes. I thought it was so good. But, man, it was their very first time with the roof on the cage, and they immediately got out and ended up on top. So that throws that out. And, gosh, that bump through the air mattress, I just thought it was so weak. And there's several different ways they could have shot it. There's several different ways they could have shown it, or just not even shown it at all. I just thought it exposed the whole thing. That's all anybody's talking about now, and there were 40 minutes of great action before that,
right?
And it's all an afterthought at this point because of that.
Now did you not like the booking of the actual high spot of Jericho going off, or you just didn't like how they shot it?
Both.
Okay.
I thought it was unnecessary, but had they done it differently, you know, might have put a nice bow on it. But even if it would have went great, I don't think it was needed.
Yeah, I mean, I can see. I don't know. I think it was good. I think it was good for MJF to get that push as the heel, though.
Well, it gave the thing that the iconic,
Yeah.
the iconic picture of him on the top, with covered in blood. That's something we'll see in video packages for years to come.
Yeah, but there would have been plenty of ways to get that. That could have been
That's
gotten in
true.
the ring.
That's true.
They could have played out the same thing with Sammy forfeiting for the team, something violent to Jericho on the inside. I mean, lots of things could have got that same image. It was a spectacular match, and the bump was just a popcorn fart, I feel like. And they could have – you don't want anybody to get hurt. You want it to do as safe as possible. I'm not bloodthirsty. But maybe even they built the platforms up another 18 inches so when it crashed through, it didn't show the mattress. I mean,
Right, yeah.
they're a multi-billion-dollar family. They have all the resources in the world at their disposal. I would have liked to have seen that land a little better. Barbed wire exploding death match was unfortunate, bad luck. I hated it for them. And AEW is the only TV that I tune into every single week. But, man, that one was – it's like, gosh, after all that, a mattress.
But a lot of times they won't even show the fall until the replay because they're probably looking for the best angle. And I think that was their biggest mistake. You know, I don't really have a problem with the angle because watch what happens when MJF comes out on Dynamite now. You know, he's going to get booed even more for that, and it's going to pay off. I noticed right away, you know, how high up that box was. I'm like, well, that's pretty padded. Usually it's down lower, and that kind of gave it away also. Like, usually they kind of try and bury it some. So, and that kind of stuck out a little to me. It's like, oh, okay.
I look at it, us as wrestling fans, because me and some of my buddies had the same debate. They're like, well, you know, even though it didn't look that good, the story was awesome, and MJF, got over. Like, yeah, he did, but put yourself in the shoes of some guy that hasn't watched wrestling in years, and he's kicked back in the easy chair, and he heard there was going to be a War Games or War Games-ish, and he sees Jericho go through the mattress. He's going to say, what the heck is this? And tune right out. I mean, and that's how it grows to get those guys, and I don't think that got anybody.
Now, I will agree. I do agree with the with them not going to the top of the cage. I think they could have done it in the cage because they allowed the weapons in the ring. Right. So with them allowing the weapons in the ring, I think they could have done something where, the rest of Pinnacle are holding Sammy Guevara, kind of holding his face, making them watch as MJF has a chair getting ready to do a complete uncovered headshot.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then him stopping him before he just does a complete,
When I think that the thing about Derek's point that also rings true to me, where my mind went was, okay, it's your first blood and guts, which there's going to be more blood and guts matches down the road in AEW. If you start the first one with a finish that's on top of the cage, where do you go to next? Like what is the next finish you have? You've already went the Mick Foley Undertaker route and put them on top of the cage. So where do you go from there? So yeah, I can see that. I can totally see that.
I mean, and WWE does.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Derek.
AEW is good at WWE, they'll ignore the past if it doesn't suit their narrative lots of times. I wouldn't be surprised that AEW was the last time we did Blood and Guts, this happened, so now we're doing this.
Right.
Yeah.
I have faith in them to clean it up because typically they do. Just like the barbed wire thing, they tried to spin an angle out of it, and I don't know that it landed perfectly, but they probably did about as good of a job as they could with what happened out of that, with spinning it to Kenny. And everything. And I think they'll clean up the blood and guts finish too. We've not even seen the TV, since. So that's another thing I've always tried to do as a fan is before I fuss too much, let's see what's coming next.
Right.
And that's one thing I like about AEW too, is that they listen to what's going on. They have their, they read and they hear what fans are saying. they know what the blowback's going to be.
And sometimes they'll poke fun at themselves.
Right.
They're not afraid to poke, to shine a light on the thing that screwed up. Like Kenny, spinning it, like the whole spin of Kenny after the exploding barbed wire death match was almost them kind of laughing at the screw up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
I love Moxley coming in.
I'm sorry, man.
Go ahead.
Twice. You take it this time.
Like I said, I loved how Mox came out and said, Kenny's a great wrestler, but he can't build an exploding ring worth of shit. So
yeah, that was great.
That was a nice audible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I heard the Jericho podcast this morning.
I did
giving
too.
a rundown on Blood and Guts. Man, that was even harder on me because he's like, I'm standing at the edge of the cage and I'm thinking, this might be the last one. This may be it. It's like, come on, dude. We saw Vince take the same bump last year during Mania when he was showing Gronk the bump off the balcony into the crash pad.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
72-year-old Vince goes into the crash pad and gets up and holds his arms out. And Jericho, even a week later, is like, I knew it might have been the last one. I knew it might have been it for me, but it's best for the show. Yeah. I just gritted my teeth and I did it. I didn't overthink it. I just went for it. It's like, come on, dude. I respect wholeheartedly what these guys do, but man, that was soft.
Yeah, he was living the gimmick there. He is not going to. He's selling it.
Yeah, and I guess as he should though.
Yeah.
And my last comment is I give AEW some slack too because they haven't even been on TV for 2 years yet, so they're learning. The next time there's a bump like that, they're gonna have the better camera angle. It's gonna be more protected. It's not gonna look like that again.
Yeah,
that's a guarantee.
I agree.
And not at all am I trashing AEW. That's like I said. That is the show that I make sure not to miss. Typically,
yeah.
When they get something right, it's so right. I mean, I love the Pinnacle. Inner Circle's been great since the very first episode of Dynamite. So I'm just being nitpicky when I fuss about the one finish.
Yeah, same.
It's just us being wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Yep. All right. All right, so we're going to move on to the final topic of the evening. And our final topic is, does the Performance Center neuter indie wrestlers in-ring style?
So we're talking when an independent wrestler signs with NXT and they go learn the quote-unquote WWE style of wrestling at the PC, does it kind of neuter the way they are, right?
Yeah, do we lose what the indie persona is?
Absolutely, I think we do. I think we've seen that sometimes, not so much when they go into NXT. Like with Keith Lee, we still got a little bit of his they kind of hone in on the independent nature of a pro wrestler a little bit better. But man, when those wrestlers finally go to the main roster, you always hear about you have to learn the way to do it the way WWE does it. And a lot of the things they learn, I think, is very beneficial for a young wrestler as far as finding the camera, finding that, opening yourself up for the camera, just the logistics of being a pro wrestler on national TV, I think helps them. But I will say, man, the big thing for me, one of the big things that makes AEW so much more enjoyable than the current WWE product, and I'm mainly talking Raw and SmackDown, is I feel like I'm watching a bunch of wrestlers with totally different styles. And when you're watching WWE product, a lot of the matches have the exact same flavor. Sure, a guy might have a different move, but just the overall style, you're not getting the Pentas and the Ray Phoenixes mixed with the Orange Cassidys mixed with the MJFs, the Jerichos. It's like a buffet of wrestling styles on AEW, where I feel like the PC definitely hones everyone into this box when it comes to independent wrestlers.
I mean, I would love to ask a guy like Finn Balor or Seth Rollins his opinion on that, and seeing if there's a benefit. Is what he learned in the PC actually, is it cleaner? Is it like I would love to get somebody's feedback who's been through it, who was super successful on the indies and then went on to have a strong run in WWE. But I kind of agree. Like when you do watch WWE, it's also, you know, it's all kind of vanilla. Like, you know, it's not much different. But is it the wrestlers? Is it the producers? Is that coming down from Vince? Like, do they just need totally new producers? Like, 'cause we see the same matches by the same producers week after week, year after year.
Yeah.
And, you know, and since a lot of the guys have been let go, like Arn Anderson is gone now, and he's in AEW.
Dean
You know, Dean Malenko. So it's such a difference, I think, in WWE. Like it's gotten more vanilla since then, because I think these guys, like you had Arn Anderson and those guys who came up in NWA and WCW and all the territories, and now you don't really have those guys producing matches anymore. I mean, you got Jason Jordan. I mean, honestly, when you see Tyson Kidd's matches, what he produced, you could tell it was a match he produced. You know, usually by the end of the match, you probably could guess which one he produced. You know, so I just don't know who to point the finger at. Is it because, you know, back in NXT, you got Shawn Michaels producing matches, and you got a lot of other guys who have been around.
So you're thinking like the way they produce the matches and lay them out might be the problem more so than the training itself.
Yeah, like I mean, like I said, I'm just guessing that because of how NXT is better than Raw or SmackDown in their matches. You know, they consistently put on better matches than what we see on Raw and SmackDown.
Right.
And I don't think that's the wrestler's fault when you have the talent up there on the main roster. You know, you can only do what you're told to do, and if you start to do too much, you know, they're not going to be happy with you. So that's just that's how I see it. I don't know.
Yeah. And here's the thing, like I feel like WWE, you said they put them in a box, and I feel like that's definitely what they do, because everything to me seems that it's so cookie cutter in WWE. And I feel like when somebody goes to WWE, you know what you're going to see from them. Like I know what I'm going to see. I mean, there may be some variation, but I feel like I know what I'm going to get. And I feel like it's so different in AEW because I feel like they let their people on Dark and Elevation, I feel like they let them be themselves.
Right.
And I feel like it's so cookie cutter. And I really want to get Derek's opinion on that, because I know, you know, some guys who have gone and had their matches on Dark and Elevation. Mainly, you know, we had Main Event and Cole Carter are two notable ones that I know that you know a lot about. And then, you know, anybody, you know, how do you feel about AEW's, how they do it versus what WWE does?
As far as the Performance Center thing, I imagine that can only be a great thing for anybody. You know, you see these guys that show lots of promise on the independent circuit, and you say they're good enough to go there, and they go there, and when they get in NXT, they're putting on legit 5-star world-class matches. I don't know, of course, but I feel like a lot of that probably is Shawn Michaels, because I see a lot of Shawn Michaels in some of these main events on NXT.
Definitely.
The second gear, like the second level of the match, it's like, oh, this is good, this is good, this is good. Oh my God, it's great. You know, the finishes in the last 5 minutes and stuff. That's all. It feels anyway like that's all Shawn Michaels stuff. The in-ring action, I don't think at all cramps any indie wrestler style. You know, if they're on the first or second match and they're not getting as much as they would get in the Midwest or in, you know, or wherever, if every match is a 5-star match, there's no 5-star matches, I feel like.
Yeah.
So sometimes if you're first or second or third on the card, it may feel like you're not getting a chance to shine, but what you're doing is you're working towards that main event. I feel like when the guys in NXT get there, they deliver. And I think a lot of them delivering is from what they've picked up and been sharpened on, you know, in the Performance Center and in NXT. Like you guys said, though, once you get to the main roster, it's sort of the same thing. They start at the bottom of the card, and maybe they're not a priority, you know, and lots of guys do lose there. There's no way around that. Lots of guys are losing there once they get up to the big show, but they're so stacked. There's so much talent there. You know, who are they to replace? Like, whose spot are they going to take?
Right.
I think we lost.
Yeah, I think the main guy I think of that they just neutered his style and was Keith Lee. you know, like if you remember Keith Lee on the Indies, this was a 300-pound guy who was doing flips off the top rope. Like
Right.
he moved like a cruiserweight, and he did that in NXT. We saw his athletic ability. And to me, that's what made him special, is that he was doing things that a big man shouldn't do. And then when he goes to the main roster, we hear reports that Vince wants to send him back to the PC to quote unquote, learn how to wrestle like a big man. And I'm like, what you're doing is you're taking away what made him kind of stand out amongst these big men. And now you just want him to be like any old big man. And I was like, man, in an AEW or even an Impact Wrestling, I feel like they would have kind of nurtured that star, that
What made him him?
that interesting quality about him, what made him him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think in such a big company like WWE, a multi-billion-dollar company, it is easy to miss things like that for sure. Because, you know, I'm certain Vince probably isn't watching PWG.
Yeah.
Should he? Maybe. I don't know. But, you know, this guy comes across his roster and he sees him moving fast and doing leapfrogs. And you know, his first instinct is, why is he leaving his feet? Why is he doing this stuff?
Yeah.
You know, maybe he doesn't. And maybe nobody's telling him, hey, that's what makes this guy. He can do a lot more even than what you're already seeing. So, you know, at that point, I guess it's all just speculative, and it is unfortunate. Keith Lee is a hell of a talent, and so are many others that have came through there and sort of missed their stride.
I think you're absolutely right there. I think Vince isn't watching it and nobody's telling him.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
Yeah. So
But all it would take for somebody like that is one opportunity, one big match to blow them away. And,
That's true.
you know, they're turned loose.
I mean, they gave Keith Lee a couple of spots right before he disappeared from TV, you know, with some nice top rope moves and stuff, and then all of a sudden he was gone.
Yeah.
So go figure that one out.
Yeah.
now when the guys like Main Event and Cole Carter are going down to AEW, are they giving them any direction, or are they just going out and being them?
You know, I'm not certain. I try not to pick apart too much. When I talk to them, it's more of, you know, how was your experience? Did you get good advice? Did you have fun?
Yep.
Things like that. And everything I'm hearing, those guys love going down there. And of course, I'm tickled to death that they're getting the exposure that they are. I'm selfishly a little bit nervous because I think any of them could be signed and be gone at any time. But
Yeah.
if they were, I'd be tickled to death for any of them. Those guys all deserve it. Cole is a prodigy. Main Event is beyond TV ready. I mean, they could step onto any TV in any spot and shine, I feel like.
Oh yeah.
I agree.
And who knows how far Cole could go. So, I mean, those guys go. I'm just happy for them, and I'm just, you know, more asking questions as a friend than trying to really get inside their head and get inside of the process.
Yeah, it's funny because when we went to the last Conquest show, as soon as I had no idea who Cole Carter was. And as soon as he came into the ring, I was like, this guy looks like a star. Like you could just, and then I found out the kid's 20 years old, I think.
20 years old. When we first had him with Larry D, he had 17 matches.
That's insane. And
Wow.
to beat it all, he's from Charleston, where we're from.
Yeah.
So it's, you know, the hometown guy, and he's so good. Like, I love seeing that for our area. I mean, I think the sky's the limit for that kid.
The thing with that kid too, man, he is such a worker and he's such a humble guy, but he will hustle. He will live in his car to take shows. A few weeks ago, because I've been trying to clean up my act as far as diet and exercise go, I've just started trying to get into shape over the last several months for the first time. And I messaged him actually about doing something with you guys, and he told me he was in the gym. I said, quick question, just curious, how much do you work out? He said, well, I'm usually there at least 6 days a week. My good. And last night he posted a picture on Instagram at 1:15 a.m.
I saw that.
He is hustling. He wants it. So not only does he have the God-given ability, he's got the work ethic and the drive, and he's getting better nearly daily. So Cole's destined for big things.
Yeah, and when you have Britt Baker and Wardlow showing up at ICW and handpicking you to come to AEW Dark, I think that that lights a fire under your belly and makes you know that you're doing something right.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about the show before we get off.
Yeah, before we leave, let's get into this Conquest show, man. Give us some details, what's going on, where they can get tickets.
Yeah, run down some of the matches you guys have, because it's a killer card.
Oh yeah, well we're stacked top to bottom. Yeah, I feel like every match is a main event. We've got Larry D on Impact, who's got an awesome winning record in Conquest, against one called Manders, who's all over the country, of course. Two big hosses hooking up. We've got Levi Everett, who seems to be everybody's favorite, taking on Ace Austin. That one is, I've got a sneaky feeling that one may steal the show. We have Daniel Eads, who's awesome.
Awesome.
You know, big 6'5", 260 guy, taking on Chance Prophet, the consummate professional and veteran.
Yep.
And they have an issue going into this one. I expect that one to get very physical. And we've got the Bunkhouse Brawl. We've got Mance Warner and Lodi taking on the Office, Jock Sampson, Ryan Edmonds, and David Lawless. The match was supposed to include Casey King, and Casey's went down with an ACL. The Office took him out and legit tore his ACL. He's going to be out. We don't know how long. Right now, it appears to be a handicap match. I don't know what's cooking. I'm working on some things. Mance and Lodi have been hitting me up with some stuff.
Might be a surprise, maybe.
Maybe a surprise. We're not sure what we can do because the contracts were already signed with all 6 guys, and it's hard to slip anything past the team that has David Lawless on their side. Of course.
Yeah. The gavel.
He's blocking a lot of stuff. So, but a true Bunkhouse Brawl, come as you are. I expect those guys to go all over the arena. We've got crowd barriers this time, hoping to keep them contained, but I'm not certain that we can. That one's going to be out of control. We've done a lot of stuff. We've gotten pretty busy lots of times. Our main events and just several of our matches have gotten, pretty intense. But this one, I don't know how we're going to keep it under control. I really don't. I don't think that we will. And I may just turn my head and let them go.
And Jock Sampson and Edmonds, they really know how to get the heat from the crowd. That crowd hates them.
But they should. They're terrible. They're terrible people.
Yeah.
Man, I this isn't just me, promoting the show or anything like that for you. I truly haven't been more excited for a show since I can remember, honestly.
Yeah.
I cannot wait.
The last show was so much fun, and
man,
the crowd, like you said, you guys had over 300 people there. It was packed out, and this isn't fans sitting on their hands. These are rowdy fans. It's a rowdy show. Edmonds had everybody fired up.
You had the face signs in the crowd.
Oh yeah, the main event came out. They tore it down with, I think it was Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. They went against.
Yeah. Yep.
And then we got the main event going against Jason
Kincaid and Facade.
Man.
Yeah, that one's world class too. I feel like anyway. All 4 of those guys are as good as anybody in the world, and this one has big tag team gold implications. We don't have tag champs yet, but we're figuring out who the number 1 team is. Both of the teams have never lost in Conquest. Kincaid and Facade have never lost in North America.
Oh wow!
Ever.
Oh man,
that's gonna be fun.
That's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, so we're not waiting around. We're not this would be a good one down the road. We don't do that. We are all about the next one.
Right.
What do we do right now? We don't put anything off. We don't try and slow down. We don't try and this one might build to this one. We are all out every show, and more this one than ever. We've got Elijah Dean, the Man Dime, versus the Man Scout, Jake Manning.
Oh yeah.
Dean's gonna have Nystrom with him. Jake Manning says he's bringing a tent. Hard to tell what's gonna happen there.
I love Jake Manning.
And, speaking of not waiting, man, you guys don't wait to get tickets. If you're waiting to get tickets for this, don't do it. Get your tickets now. because I feel like this crowd is going to be. I mean, I feel like we could have a sellout on our hands.
And Derek, they can get tickets by DMing you guys on social media, right?
Yeah, just DM us on any social media. We've got Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we're very responsive. We're around the clock on there. We've been fielding lots of orders. Seats are going really quick. They will still be available at the door. I just don't know how many at the door. I'd hate for somebody to be in the back of the line and have to turn anybody away. Like we've got, last time was a sellout with COVID precautions. There's probably room for a few more people to stand around.
Yeah.
But not many. And we've already sold pre-sale to a lot of new people. So it is important to buy up front.
And you guys are at Pro Wrestling Conquest, right?
At Pro Wrestling Conquest. Yes, sir.
Good deal.
So that's Friday, May 21st. Bell time is 7:30.
Yep. Doors open at 6:30. Come on in. The building sells food. They sell beer. They sell drinks. So come in, get loose, mingle, have some fun. All the guys are going to be selling their merch. They're going to be available for pictures. So come in a little bit early, but the bell will sound at 7:30.
Awesome.
Can't wait, man.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up, man.
Sounds like fun.
Go ahead, Tom.
I just want to say I am the Rick Rude of podcasting today, because you can also catch me on Coming Down the Aisle, which was dropping today with a little Macho Man roundtable.
Oh, nice.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
look that up, Coming Down the Aisle, and it was fun. I think if you're a Macho Man fan, you'll enjoy it. We recap his career, a little roundtable, a little list on his show of the top 10 Macho Man moments, and we
love
debate that.
John from Coming Down the Aisle, great guy.
Yeah.
Yep, so it's a fun show. Check it out, and check me out on Twitter and Instagram at the OG Fig Kid.
All right. Well, that's going to wrap us up for the evening. It's been fun having you on, Derek. You all come on anytime you want. We'll debate any wrestling topic you want to debate. And we're looking forward to next Friday, and we'll see you next Friday in person.
Party time.
Party time. Court is dismissed.